Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and it's time for your weekly wrap-up, and I want to begin first, as we always do, by thanking our newest Patreon supporters. They are Alexandre Forget, Aaron Bach, and Rich Grega. I probably pronounced everybody's name wrong this week, but I do really greatly appreciate your generous contributions to the channel. I'll talk more about Patreon and our plans for it coming up a little bit later in the video. So what did we do this week? Well, we looked at a couple of different products. We took a look at the Lexar C20i jump drive. It's a memory stick and adapter for the iOS platform, so you can copy stuff to it from your computer with the USB side and then plug the Lightning side into your device. It's okay, it's got a neat YouTube downloader, but what I found out after the fact was that there's another company that actually manufactures these and is selling the identical thing with the same app, just rebadged. So I'm not sure who's the actual source manufacturer, if it's Lexar or this other company, but it is what it is. And I always like to review some of these interesting items from time to time, and occasionally you find one that's kind of a generic piece that's made by a bunch of different people. Unfortunately, that was an example of that. We also took a look at the Unify AC Lite, which has completely solved my Wi-Fi problem in the house. I've had a couple of weird dead zones in the house that I had like 2 access points set up from 2 different manufacturers, and when I was in a certain spot sometimes, usually right where I take the dog out in the morning, my phone would just kind of drop out and get confused as to which one to connect to. These things are great if you're looking at Wi-Fi extension. Very nice performing devices, very good range, and they also work very well together. They're kind of an enterprise class product, but they're very inexpensive. I am sold on these. I just bought a 3rd one, probably going to get a 4th one to get the whole house completely covered with a good wireless connection. You can see my full review to see why I like it so much, but they're very inexpensive and really worth checking out, and not too hard to set up either. We also went to PAX East, and I got a chance to play with an HTC Vive, and I hadn't used any consumer VR product before I shot this video because I really wanted to wait for the consumer versions to come out. And what was so cool about this demo that Newegg did with me was that I had a lot of room to move around as well. So out on the show floor, they had these little tiny spaces set up. It was really hard to get the full experience. This was really cool. I learned when I got back that mine will be here tomorrow. So sometime tomorrow night, I'm going to be setting it up. I will live stream. I don't have a time as to when I'm going to set it up. So just set up the little notification on my YouTube channel. If you want to know when I go live, I'll be streaming out when I start playing with the HTC Vive. I'm very excited to get it in and really start playing around with it. So that will be tomorrow night at some point. It might be a late night for me, but it's going to be a fun one because that thing is awesome. So we'll check that out in a little bit. I also posted the first interview I did at PAX East. I got a few more coming up as well. We met with Don Walagrowski from AMD to talk about low-cost laptops and desktops. And AMD really has focused on that section of the marketplace, which is coming up with decent performing devices that don't cost a lot of money. And they have stuff in laptops. They are also in all the game consoles out there. All the 3 big consoles have AMD chips in it. And he talked about how you could actually build a $300 gaming PC. It's not going to be very fast, of course, but it's certainly good enough. And we'll maybe explore that a little bit more in the coming months and weeks ahead. They were very interested in getting us some demo units to borrow for a little bit to play with, so we can see exactly what we can do on the low-cost side of things. I really have been meaning to do more with AMD because we've covered almost primarily Intel-based devices here on the channel, and that's primarily because that's what's mostly out there in the marketplace. But AMD does have a lot of stuff, and I really need to cover more of it. So stay tuned. We'll probably get some of that stuff on in the coming weeks here on the channel. So the new studio update, you can go to my little live tour that I did. I did it on Facebook, on our Facebook page. You can go to Lon.TV/Facebook, but I'm going to post it up on YouTube as well, and I'll include it in the master playlist linked above. It's a little bit, kind of jerky because I was using the phone and walking around, but I gave you a full tour of the space. It's currently empty, but it will be filled up very shortly. The carpet's in. It looks great. The only thing I'm waiting on right now is the plug molding for all of my electrical outlets, and once that is in, we'll be ready to get started down there. In fact, the live stream that I'll do tomorrow night with the HTC Vive will be taking place downstairs in the new studio, so be on the lookout for that. And now let's talk about Roku and why I feel like they have sold out to Comcast, because they are surprisingly fighting the FCC's efforts to allow consumers to have some choices in the cable boxes that they use to watch cable television here in the United States. So just to give you an idea as to exactly what consumers in this country face, we pay exorbitant subscription fees to watch cable television channels, and then we pay on top of that rental fees for boxes to access those cable television channels. And what they do here, my TV behind me can tune cable television without a problem, but Comcast, my cable provider, encrypts every channel, including the ones that I pay for, to force me into getting one of their boxes or getting one of their cable cards and plugging it into my HD home run, which is what I do. So I actually don't pay any rental fees myself, but many other consumers don't have the wherewithal, perhaps the technical wherewithal, to set up something like that. And the FCC wants to give consumers choice to say, hey, you don't have to rent the box from Comcast, you could go get some other streaming box. Now you think that Roku, being one of the industry leaders, would be all over this because it would potentially mean more sales of their boxes, but that is not the case. In fact, the CEO of Roku wrote an editorial in the Wall Street Journal, and The Verge here picked up the story as well, opposing it. In fact, the CEO, Anthony Wood, said there is no need for the FCC or any regulator to mandate open cable boxes because the internet is already forcing cable to adapt. And you would think, okay, he's taking this big, stance about the internet just changing everything. We don't have to worry about it. Let's just the market, market forces decide all of this. And it's not a bad argument, perhaps. Many times the internet is pushing consumers into different directions until you look at what happened the day before. So we had that editorial come out. The day before, Comcast and Roku together decided to partner up, and there's now an Xfinity partner app on Roku TVs and Roku streaming boxes. And right now, Roku is the only one with that app. So Comcast, who writes the app, is allowing people to use a Roku, but nothing else because it doesn't run on the Apple TV or on the Google Android TV platform, only on Roku. So what a coincidence that this guy now is putting a op-ed in the Wall Street Journal opposing the FCC's efforts to unlock the box, because his box is the only one that Comcast has blessed with the ability to operate their cable boxes essentially on their devices like that. So I just have to say that it's really unfortunate that Roku has taken this turn. We did see, that there's been a real improvement over the last 8 to 10 months in some of the competing boxes out there. The Apple TV is fantastic. The Android TV platform is developing really nicely. The NVIDIA Shield TV, of course, is my favorite set-top box right now, and it's really a fantastic device. And the Roku 4, really, in my opinion, not a bad box, but it kind of fell flat. And the only thing that Roku has going for them right now is the fact that they have more of the video streaming providers on their platform than the other competing brands do. So, for example, on the Roku right now, they have everything with the exception of the iTunes Store accessible. No other box has as many different choices available. But, it's just really, it just stinks that this is the kind of stuff that goes on. They get a nice big deal from Comcast and then magically take Comcast's side in opposing consumer choice, and it's really unfortunate. And the worst part here in the U.S. especially is that for many of us, we, even though there's no cable monopoly, so to speak, in the country, in many markets there is. So my only choice right now for cable television is Comcast. It's my only choice for internet because I really can't get anything that delivers the speed that they deliver to my home. And what Comcast is doing, in addition to blocking consumer choice efforts like this, is that they're also imposing consumption caps on the internet so that if people are streaming a large volume of Netflix, they're charging people extra for that data usage as well. So they're making it very difficult for cord cutters who are out in areas like mine where they can't get stuff over the air to really charge them more for using competing services, even though they already have you as a customer. And it just stinks. They are really just operating a horrible business and really treating customers like crap, and they are doing that because they can. And it's very unfortunate that a leader in the marketplace for cord cutters is really endorsing this kind of behavior. So let's move on to some Q&A. And we've got some stuff to talk about here. Danny Guerra had asked a couple of weeks ago about the iPhone SE because I had bought it, reviewed it, and then gave it to my sister who's now using it. And she had an iPhone 5 before, and she moved up to the SE. And he wanted to know if she was happy with it after a couple of weeks. And I have to say she is. I was with her over the weekend, and she said it was really a nice phone. It fits all her cases. She's got a bunch of these wacky cases that she had for her iPhone 5. Everything fits those perfectly, but the phone is a lot faster. The one thing that was funny was that while we were driving in the car, she kept unlocking her phone. She's like, it's so frustrating that the phone keeps locking every time I turn it on or turn it off. And I said, well, use your fingerprint. She didn't know she had the fingerprint sensor. It wasn't evident to her to use it. So after she learned to use the fingerprint sensor, she was much, much happier with it. But she's quite pleased with it. It's a lot faster than her last phone. It also has more storage than her last phone did, too. So she's really enjoying that. And she's quite a photo taker. So she really is enjoying the camera, which is a pretty big improvement over what the iPhone 5 had. So a pretty good upgrade from Apple. A lot of people like that form factor. And you can watch that review in the master playlist above if you want to see more about the iPhone SE. Got another comment. This is actually representative of a number of comments I've had over the last couple of weeks. It's funny how these things come in waves. Yogeshwar Singh was wondering if I could move my little control panel here for switching cameras to the floor so I could use my feet. And there's a problem in doing that, and I'll show you why, because look at all the buttons I have on here. So I have a lot of different things that I do on this little panel as I am using it. I'm probably going to review this at some point. If you look at my production series at Lon.TV/production, I have a video where I kind of show you exactly what I'm using this little thing for. This is called an X key, and it's a little keyboard. You can program these keys to do whatever you want, and I have it tied in with my TriCaster. So when I want to switch cameras, I just push that button right there to switch back to this view. I can push it again here and go back, and I queue up all my other cameras using the buttons here too. So that is why I switch everything live. And the reason why I switch live is because this is the key to my efficiency. I'm able to produce as much content as I do because I'm pretty much shooting everything pre-edited. I don't have to take a bunch of feeds and then drop in B-roll and do all this other stuff. I'm really just taking the clips of me shooting this video and putting them together on my computer and uploading them. It's a lot faster because I'm editing while I'm shooting, and because I don't have a crew and everything else, I have to do it this way for now. But it's funny, some people get really annoyed. It's just like one of these things that people notice, I think, that they get really annoyed to see me continually handling something off camera, and it drives them crazy. At least a very small number of people drives them crazy. But I keep a very close eye on my subscription count and my video views week to week, and so far there's more people that tolerate it than don't. So I'm going to keep doing the things the way I'm doing it, because I really would not be able to give you the amount of content that I can if I had to edit all this stuff together at the end of my shooting sessions. So that is why we do what we do there. So that was an answer to his question. And our next question comes from Meh, otherwise known as IggyPop120 on Twitter. And I guess this story he's referencing here has been blowing up the ChromeOS community right now. And this is a screenshot. I believe it came from a developer edition of ChromeOS, maybe one of the betas. And it's got this little thing that people are finding in the code where there's a screen that says get Google Play Store on your Chromebook, which would imply that there's some kind of big merger happening very shortly. We've been hearing rumblings about this. We did see a year or two ago that they were starting to port Android apps over to Chrome, and you could get them through the Chrome Web Store, but they weren't the Google Play versions of those apps. They were kind of ported over. This looks like a real true marriage of the two platforms here. So we'll have to stay tuned for Google I/O in May and see exactly what this is going to be, if it's announced at all. But I did see in the latest build of Android, the new one that just was released, that they do have resizable windows now as part of the operating system. And that's probably an important part of making all of this work, because one of the things that I noticed on the existing Android apps that run on ChromeOS is that you can't resize the windows at all. They just kind of blow up full screen and that's it. So if they can really get those Android apps to run kind of like desktop apps in ChromeOS, I think it's going to make a lot of Chromebooks and Chromeboxes much more useful. I think those customers are going to be very excited to learn that they're going to have some great functionality just downloaded right into their devices. I also think for Remix OS that this is still, it won't be the end of Remix OS by any means, because Remix OS runs on just about any PC now that you can throw at it, and I think that's something that is still very useful and will continue to be useful moving forward, because you really can't install Chrome OS on a non-Google approved computer. You can get Chromium OS and do all that kind of stuff, but I highly doubt the Chromium OS build is going to work with this. So we'll have to see exactly what's going to happen once all of these things get announced to Google I/O. Right now I'm just speculating, but I do think there's a future for Remix, and there is certainly going to be a great future for those who have adopted the Chrome platform, because you'll get a lot of new stuff for free. So that is pretty cool. So let's get on to the Q&A for you. And this is going to be a advice question, especially for the home theater people out there. So I'm moving from my home theater space up in the room that I'm in, which is a very big space, down to a kind of a confined little nook in my new room downstairs. And I was wondering what you use for home theater in small spaces, because I want to get some nice speakers, not cheap ones. I'm going to bring down my home theater receiver and everything else, but I really don't have a lot of room to play with, and I want some really good sounding stuff that can fit into that space. Really the big thing I'm looking for are the rear channel speakers. I'm thinking about getting a set of Bose speakers that I can just mount on the ceiling tiles, but I'm just curious what you all might be using out there. So let me know. Leave it down in the comments below, and I'll do some exploration, because I definitely want to get a nice little home theater nook set up for myself. And also, if you can recommend any of that acoustical stuff that you stick to the walls to kind of dampen some of the echoing, that would be helpful too. I think it'll dampen a little bit when I get some of my furniture down there, but it's still a pretty big wide open space, and we'll have some echoing down there. So I definitely could use some advice on some acoustical foam for my little room down there. So what's going on this week? Well, we've got a bunch of stuff to talk about. Now, we reviewed this already. This is a Samsung T3, and every once in a while I will do a review that has something wrong with it, and in this case I misreported the actual performance of the drive, and at the time I wasn't misreporting it because the drive was behaving as it was being displayed on screen. It was looking at running about 25% slower than the prior T1 model of the Samsung solid state drive, and for some reason that drive was just running slow initially. I got a second one in that was running just fine. In fact, it was running as fast as the prior generation device was, and then when I went back to my old one, the first one that I had, that one magically started working faster too. So I almost feel like maybe there was a kind of like a break-in period. Maybe the drive was just doing some wear leveling early on in its life that was slowing it down a little bit initially, but now it's back to full speed. So I'm probably going to redo that review because the first one I did, even though I was accurately reporting what my experience was, it's really not accurate for what the product is, and I don't like leaving things up that are wrong. So that came down already. I put it on private, and I'm going to be reshooting that video. So if you see this product come up again, it's not a repeat, it's actually a redo. So just stay on the lookout for that, because I couldn't sleep with that video still up, and I really want to get it back up. So we'll be working on that in a couple of days. I also have a bunch of stuff coming out from PAX East. I've got 3 interviews that are probably going to go up tomorrow. I'm going to put all 3 of them up together because they kind of go together. We're going to have an indie developer who's just getting started and finding some traction with some cool point-and-click games in the PC world. We're going to talk to a big studio that's being published under Sega's banner. So we're going to have a really cool look at what a big studio does to develop games. And we have an industry veteran who started off as an independent developer back in the 70s and 80s and then became part of the early days of the video game world and now has come full circle and is an indie developer again. It's going to be a fun set of interviews. All those will be up together tomorrow. And I also will take all 3 interviews and mash them into one big audio file for the podcast. You'll probably have a good half hour of listening to do if you want to listen to it in audio form. We did it all on the show floor, so they're a little noisy, but I've got my nice new Sennheiser mics, so we'll be checking out some stuff on the Sennheiser mics too. And of course, tomorrow we're getting the HTC Vive in, and be on the lookout, set your little notification when I go live, because I'm going to be streaming live as I set it up. I figured that would be kind of a fun process to watch me try to get it working. I will be down in my new space. I got to put my desk together down there. We'll bring the gaming PC down first and give this a go and see how it all comes together. So that will be happening tomorrow night. If something changes, I'll announce it on my Twitter feed and on the Facebook page. So if you go to Lon.TV/Twitter or Lon.TV/Facebook, look for any announcements in case you don't see me up by like 9:30, 10 p.m. Eastern time. So just be on the lookout for that. I got to go have dinner with my mom, and I'm not sure how long it might take. It could be done by 9:30, or we might stay later. Who knows? It's how things go sometimes. And then I'm hoping once I get down into the new space, I'm targeting hopefully this weekend as the new studio grand opening event of some kind. And what I'm going to do once I get the home theater thing set up down there is do my big Kodi and Plex video about how I'm using both of these and why you might choose Kodi for some things and Plex for other things. And I really have been eager to do that, but I wanted to do it when I've got my new setup up and running. So hopefully this weekend I'll be able to work on that. If not, I'll mention this desire to get this video done again next week. So that will be that there. If you want to help the channel, you can go to Lon.TV/Patreon and make a monthly contribution to the channel. I also have YouTube fan funding set up at Lon.TV if you want to make a one-time contribution. Those funds are going into a pool of money that right now is being used to buy the items that I purchase on the channel and then resell. But I'm also going to be hiring a kid very shortly to help me out in the studio, and we're going to be directing those funds to our payroll, essentially, to help me be more productive. So that is what we're looking at doing here, and I greatly appreciate everyone's contributions to that. And I'll give you an update very shortly once I get all the business components in place to be able to begin that hire. I wanted to get downstairs first and out of this mess that I'm currently in before we did all of that. And we've got my Amazon shopping page at Lon.TV/Amazon. That's an Amazon affiliate link. If you click on that and go to the Amazon page there, it brings you to like a Prime landing page. Anything you buy on Amazon will go towards helping the channel, and there's no impact on your price. We get a small portion of the sale. Unfortunately, this is US only at the moment. So if you are from overseas, I do appreciate the effort. It is the thought that counts, but unfortunately, your sales won't count on that affiliate link just yet. And if you want to connect with the channel, we've got our usual array of stuff here, Lon.TV/email for my email list. I will probably send out an email at some point, maybe tomorrow night when I get a time for the big Vive setup. Lon.TV/Facebook is my Facebook page where I'll be streaming live a lot more often because I didn't realize I could stream live on there until Matt Zagaya, my friend who I ran into at PAX East showed me how to do it, so I'll be doing a few more live streams from time to time. I really like Facebook for that, kind of random live stream thing, because I think it's better suited for that versus the YouTube channel. I don't like to load up your subscription feed with a bunch of crazy unedited live streams, so I figured I'll do some of those random things on Facebook, so definitely follow me there. We've got about, I think maybe over 1,000 now, maybe 1,500 or so people who like the Facebook page, but almost 88,000 on the YouTube channel, so let's see if we can get a few more over to that Facebook page to like it. The forums are at Lon.TV/forums, Lon.TV/Reddit for the Reddit community, and that will do it for this week. This is Lon Seidman. Thanks for watching. This channel is brought to you by my Patreon supporters, including gold level supporter Shabib. If you want to help the channel, you can by contributing as little as $1 a month. Head over to Lon.TV/Patreon to learn more. And don't forget to subscribe. Visit Lon.TV/S.